Oh, how do you do? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wolf. Alexander Graham Wolf. I am an inefficiency expert. And my next client, although he doesn't know it yet, will be good old Santa Claus. Yes, good old Santa Claus himself. So he's just going to have to shape up, put Christmas on a paying basis for good old Santa and his new partner, namely, myself.
Hey there, everyone. On behalf of Team Newman, I wish you the merriest of Merry Christmases. In September.
Don't tell me we're doing this thing where basically now, because of all the shops are putting up all their Christmas products, we're going to start by, reviewing Christmas stuff early just to spite them.
Hey, it is never too early, and by the same logic too late, to buy into the soulless consumerism surrounding holidays. We can have Halloween stuff available on August, and Christmas-related paraphernalia available on September. What is physically preventing us to review a Christmas special from 1978 in September?
The fact it's not Christmas?
Christmas is an illusion created by the capitalist society to make us buy toys and make money off of our hard-earned cash, to feed into the soulless consumerist machine surrounding the conspiracy of holidays that has been plaguing humanity ever since somebody learned how to exploit the innocence of childhood. And on that note...
that was an opinion. On that note...
Welcome back, everybody, to Dramatis Sermo, and last time we were into this particular podcasting context, we tackled a certain timeless musical classic.
Yeah, that required drinks afterwards.
Yes, we reviewed Raggedy Ann and Andy, a musical adventure, and its soundtrack, and its disturbing animation, and its dubious aesthetic, and everything that was wrong with it. We laid it bare on our most recent episode prior to this one. I do like to think we did a banged up job in pretty much dissecting and thoroughly discussing this film in every possible aspect. We even acknowledged and mentioned all the people who worked on it, all the animators, the assistant animators, the director, the former director who passed away.
How much money it made and what type of techniques they had to employ.
Yes. I think we also mentioned the name of the record labels.
Yep, we definitely did. It was...
So there's that. But the one thing we did not discuss was surprisingly, the origins of the actual doll itself, Raggedy Ann, and by extension, Raggedy Andy. We did not discuss at all where does she come from, or indeed anything about her legacy. We were too focused in decimating that one single misguided work of art, that passion project that just made my heart ache to dismember so violently. But still, if there is one thing that I enjoy more than talking about animation, is talking about animation and, by extension, characters related to animation with a long, rich and interesting history and legacy to them. So, here we are, once again talking about Raggedy Ann, perhaps against our better judgment, but we'll see. Mostly because my heart desired to redeem these characters from one disreputable
piece of media. I mean, it was just a mess, that film, but the dolls themselves do have a long history.
Raggedy Ann as a character was created by American writer Johnny Gruelle in 1915. To be specific, the actual rag doll of Ann was created on September the 7th of 1915. And then it was released to the public along with the book of the same name, the 1918's book Raggedy Ann Stories. So, at the time, actually releasing a book with a doll attached to it was considered a brilliant marketing move, and it paid off. Later on, in 1920, we also had the spin-off Raggedy Andy Stories, which introduced the character of Andy and his very fun and family-friendly drunken sailor adventures fighting around the world. I would love to see a gritty remake of Raggedy Ann and Andy, whereas Raggedy Andy is played by Russell Crowe.
I could totally see that, and Raggedy Andy would say to the children, "Are you not entertained?"
Fighting around the world, Raggedy Andy punches cancer. Of course, by that logic, Raggedy Ann should be played by Charlize Theron, but only if she actually kills people on screen.
Oh gosh. Yeah, in all seriousness.
Getting back to the origins of the character and her adventure book, this actually makes me feel even more furious about the musical adventure that we dissected, because they actually had the stories to get inspiration from, to make something good out of it. And yet, we ended up with the great mighty Taffy monster.
Oh boy,
and everything in between and around.
Which was a whole lot of nothing.
Right, so this happened in 1977. 1 year after that, Chuck Jones, the great Chuck Jones, the one and only Chuck Jones, one of the key, most prominent and important figures in animation's history, Chuck Jones, that is. He released the first of 2 animated specials starring the titular dolls. Now, the second one was from '79, and it is an Halloween special, and I do believe we shall cover that this October, because I say so.
It makes sense.
I mean, but for now we are covering the Christmas special by the title of The Great Santa Claus Caper in September.
That makes sense, right, guys? I mean, it's either the way that it's supposed to be done, where we review the Halloween special first, then the Christmas, which means we'll be doing it in reverse, or we just do it in chronological order of doing the Christmas special first, and then the Halloween special afterwards.
I mean, what the heck? Let's celebrate Easter the 4th of July.
Why not? I mean, no one's doing anything important that day.
Yes, that's why I said it.
I'm kidding.
It most
Sorry.
certainly does not concern us, seeing as we are European, but
Well, yeah, true.
anyway. So, Raggedy Ann and Andy in The Great Santa Claus Caper. For a TV production, this is quite star-studded, I have to say. The voice of Anne in this is the one inimitable June Foray.
June Foray?
Yes, she's a legendary voice actress who pretty much voiced all the characters you've ever grew up with, ever since the old Looney Tunes era.
Yeah.
And she passed away this year. To give you an example, she voiced Granny, as in the character Granny. She was Rocky in Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Okay.
And about 100,000 more characters, including Raggedy Ann, in this special.
I didn't actually research the voice actors, but I actually recognized only 2 of them just because of their voices sounded similar to other characters I heard from other animations. One from a movie made by Chuck Jones called The Phantom Tollbooth.
Mm-hmm.
And the other was a voice from a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but we'll get to that.
Since we are already talking about voice actors, the bad guy in this short is voiced by legendary actor Les Tremayne.
He is the voice I recognize instantly because
it is quite a very recognizable voice, I say so myself.
Because he was the guy in the Phantom Tollbooth that played as the Humbug.
Bah Humbug. You know, at some point, we will review that film as well. I am yet to watch it as we speak. We are already covering the major animated enterprises of the 1970s, so we might as well go through with it. Which means we will have to watch Fritz the Cat as well at some point, because it's kind of an important, somewhat important watch for the time period.
Yeah, it kinda is.
We might as well watch all the films by Ralph Bakshi.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's freaking Ralph Bakshi, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's see. Raggedy Andy. He was voiced by
Dos Butler.
His voice reminded me of Elroy Jetson. So if I'm wrong, I'll be surprised.
Okay, so he was Terrible Trivium in The Phantom Tollbooth.
Oh, yeah. Probably one of the more creepy and coolest designed characters.
You will love this. You will love to know he was also Snagglepuss.
Exit stage left. Oh, boy.
Yep.
He probably voice acted in a lot of Chuck Jones's work then, by the sounds of it.
He was Mr. Jinx from Pixie and Dixie. Oh, he was Peter Perfect from the Wacky Races.
Ooh, so he did have some range then.
Indeed. You know, all voice actors should have some range.
Yeah, but you get some voice actors who only, have
Well, nowadays, most voice actors tend to be too recognizable for their own good.
That's true.
Anyway, he was also Baba Louie from Quick Draw McGraw. Oh, look! He was Barney Rubble from the Flintstones. So, this is what I mean when I said that this short has a star-studded cast. We have the likes of June Foray, which is possibly the most prolific voice actress who ever lived, even more than Mel Blanc, in fact.
Yeah.
And then you have, of course, Les Tremayne, celebrated actor before even becoming a voice actor, and then Charles Dawson Butler, which we just acknowledged. He has quite a resume. All of these people have quite a resume. He was the Atom Ant. Yep, I remember it quite clearly.
Me as well, actually. I remember it quite clearly as well. But,
he was Yogi Bear.
Hey, boo-boo.
Well, yes, it sounds a bit like Barney, doesn't it? Although, to be honest, the early version of Barney had a slightly more nasal inflection to it.
Right.
It was the same voice actor, but then he changed his pitch.
Right.
He was Wally Gator. He was Elroy Jetson. I just found it.
Yeah, I knew it.
Okay.
I feel vindicated for that.
Right, so before we proceed in summarizing the happenings of this short, I would like to talk about the aesthetic presentation of it, because If you recall, last time I made this big rant about what doesn't work in the aesthetic and animation style of Raggedy Ann and Andy, a musical adventure. Specifically, the character designs tend to be too realistic and creepily close to their doll counterparts, and the overly naturalistic and detailed animation only makes them look much more creepy.
Yeah, but
I would have preferred to watch a version of this film with a bit more limited animation that would complement a more cartoony, properly cartoon-like character design. I also mentioned about the Chuck Jones specials, and this immediately provides a valuable example of what I was talking about, because this TV special, in spite of it being a TV special, which means a lower budget, a TV format as opposed to a widescreen, a limited animation style, this short looks so much more appealing than the film could ever hope to be, in my opinion.
It seems a lot more appealing in general, I feel, too, because of the fact that it doesn't look weird to look at.
I mean, the two main characters look really nice and cute. They have a good design that's easy to the eye, and it's complemented by the animation style that brings in the forefront their cartoon nature. They do feel like proper cartoon characters existing in a cartoon universe, as opposed to realistic dolls creepily invading an animated feature.
Yeah.
So yes, the animation in here, it's much more limited, but much more appealing and charming to look at. And that alone makes this special superior to the previous year's film.
Then again, I don't expect anything less from a Chuck Jones animated
production. I mean, Chuck Jones is not the master of the universe of animation for nothing. No. He's been honing his craft for decades now, and he's always had a good, recognizable, charming style to his characters, bringing them to life through his own craft.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If nothing else, this special is very charming because of that.
Yeah, it's very charming for that, but it's also... I find it quite charming just because of the period it was made in, essentially. Just because of the writing.
This is definitely a product of its time when it comes to writing for children's programming on television.
Especially in the 70s, you said it was?
It's 1978, yes.
Yeah, it was...
So yes, we have a lot of characters appearing on screen, explaining to the audience, literally breaking the fourth wall, to explain to the audience who they are and what they're doing while they're about to doing what they're doing.
That's actually literally how it opens as well.
Yes.
You have Alexander the G. Wolf, basically.
Alexander Graham Wolf.
He basically looks to the audience going like, oh, you're probably wondering who I am. Well, I'm this guy.
Yes, I shall introduce myself. I am Alexander Graham Wolf.
And I am going to tell you what I'll be doing this entire...
Yes, I'm going to visit my newest partner, Santa Claus, and he calls him Santa Claus.
Yeah, he needs to join up with Jack Skellington for people who can't say his name correctly.
So, the film opens up properly in the snowy post-apocalyptic wastelands of...
of the North Pole.
Okay, it is actually the North Pole. It's not a winter holocaust. That would be something you would expect from the Lorax TV special. Which Chuck Jones also made.
It seems to me that all the specials I've seen involving Chuck Jones always has characters that basically seems to either verbally or with an expression of the character's face seems to acknowledge the audience in some way. It seems to be a common thread.
Well, in the Dr. Seuss TV specials, that makes sense given the writing that Chuck Jones is transliterating to screen.
It's just the only reason I bring this up because I watched a small scene of The White Seal by Chuck Jones as well, and it has this one moment where the seal mother looks to the audience with one expression for one frame of animation, like as if hey, I knew this was going to happen.
Yes,
So-
well, isn't that a trademark in Chuck Jones productions and short films?
Yeah, I did. I
it
did
is
wonder
something
if that was
that he definitely brought with him from his days working under Leon Scherzinger's animation studios.
Yeah, I did wonder
The
if that was
Terminator from Warner Bros.
Yeah,
He's
I did
always
won-
been doing that. You always have characters that acknowledge the fictitious nature of the film by winking at the audience, sometimes literally, but that's what pretty much all animators and all cartoonists were doing at the time. Well, it's never to this extent. This is just a plain, childish, juvenile writing for lousy TV specials of the time. You know, hey kids, we know you're stupid, so we're going to tell you what the plot of this is before it actually happens.
I'm going to tell you what I'll be doing.
Yes, I shall take my trademarked gloop stick to encase all the toys of Santa, and I'm going to sell them to the kids.
Madhog is not joking. That is literally the plot that he just tells you.
Yes.
That he's the antagonist. He's going to be doing this with gloop stick.
It's time to incorporate hostile takeover of Santa's workshop. Yes, indeed. I am a representation of late-stage capitalism. Pretty much.
And also the whole fact that apparently he wants to improve Christmas, apparently.
Yes, with capitalism. It's the classic Christmas tale of greedy corporate capitalism trying to ruin the holidays for the children. You know, along with the trope of don't be a Grinch, this is perhaps the most common subject for a Christmas special. A villain who wants to ruin Christmas by injecting it with corrupted, soulless consumerist mentality to make a buck, and then you have the main characters who are the embodiment of the innocence and joyful nature of what the holiday is supposed to be all about, and they try to stop him. And that's exactly what happens in here. But the way it happens, the way the plot is set in motion, is the most delirious thing about it. Because we explain how all the characters tend to literally talk to the audience and explain what's going on and what's going to happen. Well, as Alexander Graham Wolf, which is actually an inefficiency expert. No, seriously, he calls himself an inefficiency expert. He has it on his greeting card.
Yeah, on his business card.
Which he actually shows us, to the audience that is, his business card. So he explains his plan to the audience, as I said, and one of the reindeers, the Santa's reindeers, Comet,
I believe.
Yes,
Comet.
just happens to hear him, and she has her own monologue to the audience. Oh no, he needs to be stopped.
He's going to ruin Christmas for everybody.
Yes.
But I need someone who could help. But I need someone that's light and cannot feel the cold.
Who could it possibly be who's both light and can't feel the cold?
Oh, I know! We'll get Raggedy Ann and Andy!
And then the title card explodes in our face, and you see the two main characters actually hugging each other in fear because they know they're going to star in this film. What was up with that title card?
I have no idea.
They're just hugging each other, afraid of facing the soulless machine of capitalism, I guess.
Oh no, we're going to be facing the soulless capitalism in order to help soulless capitalism.
Yes, that's always a moral that's rendered moot by the very obvious origins of the film itself. That's kind of a recurring problem with those Christmas specials. They lecture us about the true meaning of Christmas and capitalism is bad, and then they pretty much want you to buy the toys attached to the Christmas special.
Yay, we saved Christmas and all the toys! Now we can sell them to you!
Well, in fairness to this cartoon, they do not condemn the act of getting toys for Christmas, because that would be hypocritical.
Yes.
They condemn the idea of what the villain is doing, the very specific act the villain is doing for his own personal gain gain and profit,
Yeah.
and for a somewhat misguided idea of what getting presents or toys really is supposed to mean to the child. Because the child wants to play with the toys. They do not want them encased forever into an unbreakable gloop stick.
Gloop stick glass, apparently.
Gloop stick glass, but we'll get to that. Comet gets to Raggedy Ann and Andy, which are the only two who can save Christmas because they have those very two specific qualities of being light and not freezing to death when exposed to cold, which honestly I think it applies for many more things than just dolls.
There's cold-blooded lizards, for example.
Couldn't you get Wile Gator for this job? I mean... It's not too heavy, is it?
Could have went for Yogi Bear and his, surely he had that ship by now, flying around with all his other Hanna-Barbera friends, stopping whatever pollution or...
yes, it's the 70s.
Stuff that was happening
It is
at the
the
time.
bloody 70s, alright.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Comet pretty much hurtles inside Ann and Andy's home and pretty much kidnaps them.
Yeah, kidnaps them casually, my bad.
Yes. We're gonna save Christmas, you guys!
No time to explain! We gotta save Christmas!
Christmas abduction! Oh, and by the way, they have a dog, inexplicably, which is also a ragdoll. A ragdoll dog, a ragdoll doll.
A ragdog doll.
It's a puppy.
Yes.
And his name
puppy.
is Raggedy Arthur. I don't even know if it's an original character, Do Not Steal, or if it's from the books. It might as well be from the books, but I would not know since I have not read them.
It wouldn't surprise me if this was Chuck Jones' creation, just to add a...
It does look like an OC Do Not Steal. So Comet, after kidnapping the two unwilling doll heroes, they have a pointless discussion about, hey, I didn't know reindeers could fly. Well, I didn't know dolls could talk. Hold on, pause, stop the press.
Yeah.
Let's see if I get this straight. Comet, you knew of the existence of Raggedy Ann and Andy. That's why you came to get them to save Christmas. And yet, you are surprised that they can talk?
I mean, unless she was making a point that, hey, usually dolls don't talk, but then it's like, hey, but you're the only two dolls that can talk, but that would make sense, considering.
It might be a quip. A whip made at their expenses because they commented on the fact that they are surprised that the reindeer can fly, even though Santa Claus is canonically accepted in this universe. So really, if you get down to it, both sides were pretty much in the wrong from the start, and this was a waste of time to pad out for time.
Yes,
which was wasted. Wasted time, pad out for time.
Padded time for wastedness.
This Christmas special might have a bit of a padding problem, a bit of a pacing problem, especially when you get to Alexander G. Wolf setting up his gloopstick machine, which he calls the gloopsticizer, or something along those lines.
And that's the moment where Chuck Jones unleashes all the sound effects that he could ever muster from his library.
Yes, well, the only thing that was missing is the classic Rube Goldberg theme. Love it. But anyway, so that scene in between setting up the machine, which takes a few seconds, on-screen seconds, and also repeating the same animation about 3 times to showcase how the gloopsticizer, if I'm even getting the name right, grabs the toys, individually grabs the toys, that is, puts them inside of itself, and produces them along with a gloopsticky case around them.
plastic glass or unbreakable
plexiglass
around it, essentially,
I
which
believe-
looks very smooth.
Yes, I believe
And
that is the intended material to reference here.
And you can tell he's heartless because he does it to Christmas trees as well.
But the best part is that he's doing all of this while Santa Claus is sleeping in his bed along with all of his reindeers.
And
all of
also-
his reindeers and his elves are sleeping with Santa in his huge bed, which has me asking questions, and that's never a good thing.
No, it's not, especially when there's no Mrs. Claus inside.
So anyway, while everybody is sleeping, Alexander G. Wolf just quietly takes over Santa's production facility.
I think you need to put quotation marks next to the quietly.
I mean, okay, he speaks to himself and the machine does a lot of noise, but Santa does not wake up for anything.
Okay, everyone, it's time to go to sleep before work.
I would like to point out that I do really enjoy Les Tremaine's performance as Alexander G. Wolf.
I always liked his performances.
He clearly has all the charm and class of a Wile E. Coyote in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, which is the one Wile E. Coyote that could actually talk and be very pretentious about it. And the character is pretty much a Wile E. Coyote retraced design, as it were, which makes sense.
Especially if it's from a Chuck Jones Productions, and you kind of do see that often. He just reuses character designs or aspects, you know.
It's a recognizable style.
Next to, as my fiance would put it, the neck separator for just showing, you know, head movement alone without moving the body.
It's a great technique to save money and time on animation that Hanna-Barbera perfected. You separate the head with a cravat or a tie, as it were, and then you only animate the head. The line separating the head from the rest of the body does not show. The animation displayed in this special is a bit more classy and a bit more well-rounded.
Oh yeah,
there is a lot more movement and a lot more motions, and none of those motions feel wasted. Like Raggedy Ann and Andy Musical Adventure.
Nor do they feel unnecessary, like a musical adventure.
Yep. Cheers. Oh wait, we don't have liquor.
Clink.
Okay, so
we've just finished saying that Alexander just glooped the toys.
Yes, pretty much glooped the toys with his
gloop stickerizers.
Or something. You know what? I'll just call it the roboticizer for toys. He might as well be Robotnik or Eggman, roboticizing little toys instead of critters. Either way, he's ruining something for someone.
Yeah.
You know, Christmas, the lives of millions, same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh boy. So, our intrepid and fearless duo arrive at the scene, and Comet just stays behind because plot.
Yeah, because Comet decides, I'll leave you two to it because...
No, actually, they decide that she should stay back because you're not a main character. Get back. Go away. And this is the last time we actually see her. Technically, we see her silhouette at the end rejoining the rest of the reindeer herd. But otherwise, this is the last time we ever see her in this special.
Yeah, in full form, essentially.
Yes. So, instead of doing the sensible thing and waking up Santa Claus, no, they decided they had to stop the wolf.
Yeah, I believe Raggedy Ann was the one who basically went like, "Oh no, we shouldn't disturb Santa. He needs his sleep." And Andy's all like, "Yeah, you're right. We gotta fix this ourselves. I'm a boy. I can fix anything.
I am no girl's toy."
I'm no girl's toy. I can do anything.
Fighting around the world. Okay,
fighting around the world. I'm no girl's toy.
I have to say, for once in his life, Andy is actually useful because he saves the day at the end.
Yes, he does.
Unlike the film, where he did not do anything at all,
Well, neither did Anne, let's put it that way.
Yeah, nobody did anything at all aside from the parrot. The damn parrot.
Yeah, the damn parrot had a love song written for him.
That is another podcast. It's done. Dusted.
Yes.
Let's leave it there where
Yes,
it is.
we will.
Anyway.
And what's the first thing they do?
Well, they get spotted immediately.
I don't think it's spotted immediately. They just go up to him and go like, hey, what you doing?
Okay, so at this point in time, I was expecting cartoon shenanigans to ensue. The main character sneaking in, playing tricks to the bad guy, attempting to stop him, and all of that. Before the inevitable moment in which the bad guy realizes the errors of his ways, which also happens here. But before we get there, we have something completely different that really took me by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, this is the 70s after all, so they just go up to talk to the bad guy.
Well, it's not just that they went to talk to the bad guy, it's also the fact that the bad guy was clearly expecting them, and he was clearly prepared for them, as you see at the console panel of his bloody gloopsticizer machine. He also has an Andy and Anne and Arthur option available for those gloop-sticking business. Now, the best part of this is that during this entire scene, Alexander is trying to lure them to the dark side of holiday capitalism.
Yeah, I remember that. He was trying to convince them his way was the best way.
They will have unbreakable toys.
This is the logic he's going with, folks. He's basically, just to save a lot of time, they ask him what he's doing and why he's doing it, and he's all like, I am basically helping the children, because what happens to toys after Christmas? They get broken, or they have wear and tear and all that. And it's like, exactly! So what's the best way to help with this matter but to make it so that toys can never be broken ever again?
And so...
I'm sorry, I just love his voice. I mean, I grew up rewatching the Phantom Toll Booth constantly in my youth, so his voice kind of stuck with me as the humbug, so I kind of try and practiced it for years.
I can tell your interesting and polite voice definitely comes from a very specific source. If it's not Les Tremaine, it's Patrick Stewart. But anyway, so the gist of it is that the big bad wolf, and yes, by the way, he literally is the big bad wolf. He is established to be the same big bad wolf who had a dealing with the Three Pigs and also Little Red Riding Hood.
That means he ate someone's grandma at some point.
I love the idea that all those classic Grimm fairy tales are included in the Raggedy Ann and Andy cinematic universe.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to see the origin films.
Origin films of Alexander Big Bad Wolf.
And then the crooked man from the nursery rhyme shows up. I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative.
But yes, he is called the Big Bad Wolf. He claims to be doing good, you know.
I mean, he's clearly doing evil, and he knows it. He even explains that he only knew how to be bad. But his logic is that by encasing the toys in his unbreakable gloopstick, they will never be broken. Shall never be broken. Also, since he has patented all gloopstick products around the world, it means he will make the parents of the children pay for the toys, and he'll make a buck in the process. Like I said, greedy late-stage capitalism, ruining small businesses.
Small Santa businesses, might we add.
Yes, the metaphor still stands, obviously.
Well, yeah.
So, Raggedy Ann and Andy are not too happy about that. Oh, and by the way, I want to acknowledge something that really made me a bit bewildered. Raggedy Ann... Boy, did I say that weirdly. Raggedy Ann is a doll, right?
Yes.
When Alexander G. Wolf asks her what kind of toy would she like, she says she wants a doll.
Yeah, even though she is a doll.
A doll plays with a doll. There is something profoundly wrong with that.
I mean, I like this as well. Despite the fact Comet told them, hey, it's the Big Bad Wolf, they're still, you know, humoring him to show off his machine and what his gloop stick can do.
This is my evil machine, but since I have this voice, you are compelled to not think I'm evil.
So yeah, Raggedy Ann gets showed how the machine works, how the doll basically gets encased in gloop stick.
And it's awful.
Yeah,
Just awful.
What's the point of having a doll if you can't touch it?
Show me where the Batman touched you using this doll.
Show me where Raggedy Ann touched you when using this Raggedy Ann doll.
So the doll that Raggedy Ann is playing with actually sues her for violation of basic doll rights. Yes. So and she's traumatized. She lived in slavery.
Okay, so back on track. This is funny to me because despite the fact Andy knows what this machine does now, he still goes like, hey, it seems like an improvement to me for the doll.
And then he wants his own toys, and they all get encased, and he's all like, what's the point in having toys if you cannot touch them? Saying the exact same thing.
I know, and it's like...
reiterating the exact same point Anne just made a moment ago. You dumb nut.
It's like he expected the machine to be different. And by the way, because it's a 70s animation and he's a boy, of course he wants way more toys than the girl does. Yes.
Once again, Comet, you couldn't pick up anyone else to save Christmas? I don't know, it's the 70s. You could have had, like Devar said, the Yogi Bears crew.
The Globetrotters.
You could have had the Globetrotters. I think the Kiss might have been available.
Dolly Osmond is light on his feet.
How about the cast from Gilligan's Island?
Sure, they're in space right now, but...
Fonzie. Fonzie saves Christmas.
Yeah, Fonzie could have time traveled there.
He does travel to space in the 80s.
Yes.
So, yes, that is a timely reference.
Yeah, so that means Fonzie could have met up with Gilligan on Gilligan's Planet.
Fritz the Cat? Oh, wait, no, that would be a very different special, full of incest and sex, and not really good for children.
Yeah, no, and Raggedy Ann would be made into a different toy. Oh, gosh. No,
okay,
get off this.
Fritz the Cat is a discussion for another time. Let's go back to the more family-friendly and definitely advertiser-friendly vibe of this Christmas special. You know what? Gloopstick is bad, and by extension, the big bad wolf is bad. And so, said wolf pretty much traps their dog, Arthur, which is still there.
To make a point.
He encased him in gloopstick, except for his head.
Which seems a bit cruel in its own right.
Well, at least he does not die of asphyxiation, because dolls can breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, they cannot freeze to death, but they can breathe.
Oh boy. So,
at this point, Raggedy Ann tries to run away from the creepy guy and hiding behind the Christmas trees, and G. Wolf is basically stalking her.
Yeah, but before that, he actually did try to do the same to Raggedy Andy, and he thinks he's got him, essentially. And then he decides to chase after Anne because, you know, she ran off, like you said.
Yes, like a character voiced by Mark Hamill would do.
No, my dear, come back here.
Andy manages to avoid the gloopstification, as it were, by escaping the machine he just was hanging
in the inside of the funnel of.
He gets out of it. He just finds the button for the Christmas tree. He presses the button and the machine just happens to grab the one Christmas tree Alexander Wolf happened to come out of in his pursuit of Anne. So that's convenient.
Extremely convenient, but it works all the same.
So the big claw grabs Alexander and drags him inside the gloopsticizer, the roboticizer for toys.
Yes.
And he comes out of it in the shape of an encased Christmas tree with his head outside, and he immediately bursts down in tears while the two dolls pretty much roll to the floor in laughter.
Yeah, which seems a bit cruel for the good guys now that I think about it.
You know, he tried to end them, essentially.
Yeah, so it's not like he didn't have it coming, but...
but he never saw it coming!
Yes.
Oh boy.
So yeah, he was crying his eyes out, going like...
I hated being bad, but I only knew how to be bad. Now I'm going to be trapped here forever. I'm not a good Christmas tree. A Christmas tree?
A Christmas tree.
A Christmas tree. A bloody tree.
Yes.
I'm not a good tree.
I only know how to be a bad wolf.
Okay, he also mentioned the fact that the gloop stick is supposed to be unbreakable. Except it is breakable.
Yes, it's conveniently breakable by one secret special weapon.
And what would that secret special weapon be?
Love.
It's the power of love.
What were you expecting from the 70s, folks?
Okay! Well, the 70s and Care Bears in general. Speaking of which, now there is that scene. So after they free Arthur from his gloop sticky prison, using the power of I love you so much and I hug you and squeeze you and dress you to look pretty, minus the last part, they realize that, hey, you know what we should do? We should do what Peter Pan did to make Tinkerbell feel better. We should talk to the audience and ask them to use their own love to free all the toys and save Christmas. So several years before Care Bears 2, the one with Dark Heart, that is, Raggedy Ann and Andy are pulling off a Care Bears. That is amazing.
I mean, I'm not surprised considering the period it was written in, personally.
But again, that is something that I've always associated with the Care Bears. And now I see Raggedy Ann and Andy, of all people, doing it in 1978.
Expect the unexpected in time.
I guess. I mean, wow. Raggedy Ann asks the people at home, the children watching,
do you want your toys to be covered in this horrible gloop stick?
And then everybody yells no, and even the disembodied voice, the disembodied very adult sounding voices, which are supposed to be representative of the audience, they all say no and yell it to the heavens, and that frees the toys.
No! Even Darth Vader got involved. No!
Yes, Star Wars only came out the year prior to this. Oh boy. Okay, so and then there is the second question that Raggedy Ann asks.
Then everyone says yes!
This actually looks weird if you get to actually watch it. Because it's not just that Raggedy Ann is making everyone yell the obvious predetermined answer. It's the fact that when she does yell it along with everyone else, it almost sounds like the Klingon war cry. I can only describe it like that. Yeah!
Yes!
Yes! Even the body language, the erratic movement of her body as she yells that, suggests something is not quite right.
There's never been anything quite right about Raggedy Ann.
It is so out there. Just the entire concept of interrupting the story of the special to literally Deus Ex Machina this resolution with the help of the audience. And then, of course, after all that, the wolf has a face turn.
Do you think that Alexander can change from being a big bad wolf to big good wolf?
Yes!
It's me thinking, Raggedy Ann, no, you can't just say big good wolf. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
When all of this was happening, I was just thinking to myself, okay, so what if some of the children watching this actually did not agree with you? Are you speaking for them as well? What if they did not want to forgive the wolf? Just because he has a sudden babyface turn, you're telling the audience that they are supposed to cheer for him? What do you think you are, WWE?
WWF at the time.
I think even WWWF at the time. But
Oh.
anyway, so that was a scene that happened, and of course, with the power of a predetermined answer, the wolf is liberated from his gloop-sticky prison and is very, very glad. And I'll be good from now on. I'm so glad to have a second chance at goodness.
Yes, I'm glad to have a chance to be a good wolf.
But quick, we must go away before Santa wakes up.
They're sneaking out actually as well. What about that? Excuse me, I'll have to press this button right here.
The self-destruct button, they were referring to the machine. They clearly needed to get rid of it.
Yeah, the machine, I forgot to mention. So yeah, they needed to get rid of the machine, and there's a self-destruct button on it.
Of course there is! Why wouldn't there be a very obvious way for the good guys to stop you that they probably should have used from the very beginning?
You think they would have done that themselves, considering it's labeled?
It's a very, very big label too.
It's there for anybody to see and touch. It's not even under lock and key, there's nothing like that.
Yes, I am clever like that. And he wiggles his eyebrows forever. We didn't mention this, but he likes to wiggle his eyebrows a lot.
Oh yes, I am the inefficiency expert after all.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Oh boy. So they get out of Santa's shop in time to see Santa just waking up, like nothing has ever happened, takes his toys, and takes his sleigh and his reindeers, along with Comet, who rejoins the herd.
On Donna, on Blitzen, on... Wait, where's Comet? Oh, there you are, Comet!
Pretty much. At this point, the special is drawing to a close, but right before the end credits roll, the very last line is pronounced by Alexander G. Wolf himself. And I have to be honest with you, that line of dialogue, the first time I heard it, floored me. Not just because it was completely unexpected to hear that kind of line at the end of what has been pretty much a basic Christmas special of the time,
yeah,
but also because it was surprisingly profound and insightful. The line recites more or less like this: I think I'm going to like goodness more than I like badness, but I don't think anyone can say that for sure, unless they tried them both. Huh.
That's a very unusual message for the time that it was made in.
That is both a bold message and a very surprisingly truthful message as well. Here we have a character who was basically raised to be bad, who knew nothing but being bad, who's been offered a second chance at goodness by people who actually cared about him. And that gave him a new appreciation of what being good is all about. And he is able to appreciate that because he knew what it was like to fall down the right path, to do wrong, to have no other alternative, or not having anyone. So this is an interesting and profound message about the duality of humanity, the dichotomy of good and evil, right and wrong, what it means to be good and what it means to be bad, to truly comprehend what goodness is, which you cannot do if you do not understand what being bad is. So essentially, if you do not make mistakes, you are not able to learn from them, and you cannot mature as a person. I was not expecting an existentialist morale at the end of Raggedy Ann and Andy in The Great Santa Claus Caper, to say the least.
They're acknowledging that they know that people can be bad, but good as well, but can appreciate being good if they know what the consequences of being bad is.
Yes, we both have the capacity to be good or bad.
Which I think is very true in children, essentially. So it's kind of true to children in real life, essentially. That being selfish is considered bad, as long as you understand.
But they need to learn it. Well, how about that? Well played, Chuck Jones. Well played.
And thank you, Alexander, for
Alexander turned out to be a much better character than it had any right to be. All the characters in this were pretty good.
Yeah,
Andy was funny, Anne was incredibly charming and cute. Comet had her moments too. This was nice.
I think the entire special is like that. It basically has its own charm about it. It's its own thing, essentially, that you can't help but appreciate it, especially since it was an animated feature from the 70s.
It was a troubled decade for animation.
It certainly was a troubled decade for animation, but at least there was some good that came out of it. And plus, it's very good to learn from history of animation, at least, despite how bad it was. It kind of shows you, what the era was like and the perceptions of the people at the time when it comes to animation.
Mm-hmm.
I've already said this before, but I always find history interesting. So being able to experience the era of the animation at the time gives you a lot of insight into not only the creators of whatever you're watching, but also the perceptions of the people, what they expected to be on television at the time.
Very well said. So, Devar, and you people listening to this, do you think Raggedy Ann and Andy in The Great Santa Claus Caper is a good TV special? Say it with me now. Yes! There, we decided it for you. Aren't you glad?
Yes, aren't you glad at all? Don't you want your YouTube video to last forever and not be taken down by silly things like ad revenue debacles?
Now you can with Gloopstick.
Gloopstick. You can trust me. I am the inefficiency expert.
You see? Wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Oh, boy.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so I guess we can both agree that overall this was a really charming but otherwise pretty basic Christmas special with a surprisingly thoughtful message at the end.
Yes, I can agree with that, at least.
It might just be what the doctor ordered. And that doctor is, of course, Alexander G. Wolf.
Here, have some Gloopstick to help you with that.
It will cure all illnesses. Yes.
By making them unbreakable.
Oh, we need a cure for holiday consumerism. Real bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And I do believe that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I have been Madhog T. Master, a podcast expert.
And I have been Devar A. Varron, the man with no plans.
We shall bid you a farewell and a good night and a Merry Christmas in September to all of you. And remember, whatever you do, don't fight around the world.
Don't dress up as Andy and fight around the world.
Yes, don't be a Raggedy Andy. Be a Raggedy Ann. And just challenge people to death battles with a Klingon war cry. Okay, one last time for the memories. Yes!
I think I'm going to like goodness better than I liked badness. But you know, I don't think anybody can say that for sure, unless he's tried both. Anybody can say that for sure, unless he's tried both.
together again. 1, 2, 3, yeah!